Was that a robbery? So we just witnessed the highly anticipated Usyk versus Fury rematch, and did it meet expectations? To be honest, not really. But then again, this fight did have really high expectations because of how good the first fight was. But I'm just going to say it, this fight was definitely not as good. A lot less action packed, and I feel like this fight never really left first gear, if that makes sense. I feel like both fighters were really hesitant to do anything too big, and kind of stayed in first gear the whole entire fight. And the biggest controversy of this one is, was that fight a robbery? Because we all saw the scorecards, 116, 112, every single judge had it 116, 112 to Usyk. And to be honest, I think that's a complete robbery. I was left at the end of that fight feeling like it could have gone either way. It could have gone either to Fury by a margin or to Usyk by a margin, but that wide of a decision is kind of crazy to me, and I think a lot of people would agree with that also, because don't get me wrong, although a lot of these rounds were very close, the fight really was not as dominant as the scorecards made out. So let's talk about this fight, break it down, how it went, how it should have been scored, and what's next for each fighter. First of all, the actual show itself was very, very good, and Turki Al-Sheikh is definitely making a mark on the sport of boxing. I've made multiple videos on him, but some of the visuals before the fight and the holographic stuff was really, really cool, and I definitely enjoyed seeing that. Also, did you guys see that trailer before the fight? I thought it was hilarious, and although yeah, it probably was a little bit over the top, I definitely didn't complain. But as for the fight itself, I don't feel like it actually lived up to the hype that it was given. I feel as though Fury did dominate some of the early rounds, just in the same way that he did in the first fight. The difference is, I felt that he was a little bit more aggressive in this fight and tried to impose his weight and size onto Usyk, and kept Usyk on the back foot a lot more than he did in the first fight. And yeah, Usyk did land some good counters and good shots in the early rounds, but as a whole, I feel like Fury controlled the fight well in those early rounds. In the mid-fight, as per usual, Usyk did start to adjust, started to find some chinks in Fury's armor, and was starting to land some better shots, and definitely started pressing him. Fury a lot of times was susceptible to a lot of the shots that got him hurt in the first fight, and mid-fight, Fury did get caught with some of these shots. However, it seemed that he reacted a lot better to getting hit with these shots, where instead of backing off, he stood his ground and returned with his own counters. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a good fight, it was fairly back and forth, and a kind of close fight, but I think we can all agree it definitely wasn't as good as the first. Towards the 8th and the 9th round, it started to get a little bit closer again, maybe even edging it towards Fury because of his work and combinations throughout most of the round. Even though he did start to slow down towards the end of each round for some reason, I feel that he did well throughout most of the round for possibly the 8th and 9th, and then from the 10th onwards, it pretty much was all Usyk. Usyk was starting to crack Fury with some big shots, and that's only because Fury slowed down massively. He got complacent and was simply not performing how he was before. He got a little bit too comfortable in there and started to get hit with some shots that got him hurt in the first fight, and I think he was starting to gas out a little bit. However, like I said, he did react to these shots better and returned with his own stuff, but it just wasn't as good. He got more sloppy towards the end of the fight, and Usyk capitalized on this. However, Fury did manage to survive and successfully got through the whole fight without getting too majorly hurt or rocked. Now here's the thing, I do think Usyk had the most dominant moments in this fight, but it's boxing, we score it by rounds, which would essentially make this fight pretty close considering Fury won 90% of the first half of this fight. So I, along with many others, completely disagree with the 116, 112 from all three judges. I think that's kind of pathetic, to be honest. But oh well, we move. Usyk is now 2-0 up on Fury, so what's next for each fighter? Well, if you did stick around to see the in-ring interviews, you would see that Daniel Dubois bust in on Usyk's interview and demanded that he wanted a rematch with him. Usyk agreed to that, and I honestly think that fight probably will end up happening. I don't think Usyk has too many years left in him, but I do still think he'll make some big fights happen. But as for the main part of his career, I think he's done. I think he's achieved everything he needs to. He's beaten all the big names, has one of the best legacies in the sport of boxing, has probably certified himself as the best heavyweight of this era, and yeah, he's smashed it, to be honest with you. As for Tyson Fury though, he was madly disappointed with this outcome, and I don't blame him. And honestly, if I was Tyson Fury, I don't know what other fight would make sense than to try and chase that trilogy against Alexander Usyk, because that's the only fight that makes sense in my opinion to him. Considering both of these fights between these two were super close, I really wouldn't be mad with a trilogy, and I think that's what should be happening. However, I just don't think that will end up happening, considering Usyk beat him twice technically, because honestly, apart from that, I can't see any other fight that Tyson Fury would make, apart from a mega fight with Anthony Joshua maybe, but that definitely wouldn't be as big as it was maybe a couple of years ago. So honestly, we're just gonna have to see how Fury feels about this and where he wants to go from now. So overall review of that fight, great fight, pretty back and forth, but what do you guys think of that scorecard? Was it fair? Was it a robbery? Let us know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications so you don't miss an upload. Anyways, that'll be all. I'll catch you in the next one.